Du I de la ban viet lai theo tron black CEO cinematic, du a tren kor chuyen mei bei ban gui va kung van fong training. *** Black CEO humiliated in first class. 20 minutes later, she held the entire flight. ***. First class is for passengers who know how to behave. The words cracked through the cabin before the engines even warmed. They came from Claire Whitmore, senior flight attendant on Meridian Air Flight 318, standing in the aisle with a silver coffee pot in one hand and judgment all over her face. The cabin went still. Not silent. Still. The kind of stillness that happens when people hear something ugly and pretend they didn't. In seat 2A sat a black woman in a cream blouse, dark jeans, and soft leather flats. No diamonds. No designer logo screaming money. No assistant. No entourage. Just a slim tablet case, a folded coat, and a calmness so complete it almost looked dangerous. Her name was Naomi Ellison. Claire didn't know that. Claire only saw a black woman seated in first class who didn't look, to her, like first class. A few minutes earlier, Naomi had stepped onto the aircraft quietly. She had smiled at the gate agent. She had scanned her boarding pass. Green light. Seat 2A. Paid in full. Confirmed under her legal name. But Claire had looked at her twice. Once at the boarding pass. Once at her clothes. And somehow, the clothes won. "Are you sure you're in the right cabin?" Claire had asked. Naomi had held out the pass again. Seat 2A. Claire's mouth tightened. "We've had issues with seat hopping lately." Naomi looked at her. "Then check the manifest." Claire didn't. Instead, she turned toward the galley and muttered just loud enough for 2 rows to hear, "They always act surprised when we ask basic questions." A man in 3C looked up from his phone. A young flight attendant near the forward galley, Mia Torres, froze with a stack of napkins in her hand. Naomi said nothing. She sat down. She placed her tablet case beneath the seat in front of her. She looked out the window at the wet runway light sliding across the glass like silver cuts. Then Claire came back with coffee. She leaned over Naomi's row, her smile thin, her tone polished enough to pass. A service if no one listened too closely. Coffee. Naomi turned. "No, thank you." Claire poured anyway. The stream missed the cup. Dark coffee splashed across Naomi's sleeve, down the front of her cream blouse, and onto the edge of her seatbelt. A sharp gasp came from 2D. Claire stepped back. "Oh," she said. "Not sorry. Just oh." The stain spread fast. Brown against cream. Public. Visible. Humiliating. Naomi looked down at it, then back up. Claire reached for a napkin and dropped it onto Naomi's lap instead of handing it to her. "There," she said. "Try to be careful. These seats are expensive." That was when the cabin shifted. A woman across the aisle whispered, did she just blame her? The man in 3C lifted his phone halfway, then hesitated. Naomi picked up the napkin. Slowly. Not because she was weak. Because she had mastered the art of making time obey her. Claire looked down at her. "You need to clean that before takeoff." Naomi's voice came out low. "You spilled it." Claire smiled. "I was offering service." "You moved." "I didn't move." Claire leaned closer. "Let's not make this difficult." Naomi looked at the stain again. For 1 second, something old moved behind her eyes. Not anger. Memory. At 23, she had been pulled aside at an airport lounge because the clerk assumed her membership card belonged to someone else. At 31, she had been asked if she was with catering at a venture summit where she was the keynote speaker. At 38, during the acquisition of a regional carrier, a board member had asked whose assistant she was. Every time, the same rhythm. A door. A look. A question that was not really a question. "Do you belong here?" Naomi folded the napkin once. Then twice. She pressed it lightly against her sleeve. Her voice remained even. Claire, is it? The attendant blinked. Excuse me. Naomi glanced at the nameplate. Claire Whitmore. Claire's smile stiffened. Yes. Naomi nodded once. You should be more careful with people you haven't identified yet. A small laugh slipped from the man in 3C. Claire's face hardened. Are you threatening me? Naomi looked up. No, Claire crossed her arms. Because I can have you. Removed for disruptive behavior. Naomi's eyes did not move. I haven't raised my voice. You're creating tension. You spilled coffee on me. You're refusing to cooperate. Naomi leaned back. Calm. Straight. Unbothered in a way that made Claire more uncomfortable than shouting ever could. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Naomi. Claire turned sharply toward the galley. Mia Torres watched her approach. What happened? Mia whispered. Claire snapped, nothing. Passenger in 2A has an attitude. Mia looked past her toward Naomi's stained blouse. That doesn't look like nothing. Claire's eyes narrowed. You're a junior attendant. Learn when not to speak. Mia lowered her gaze, but not her attention. In row 3, the man with the phone finally pressed record. His name was Daniel Brooks, a school principal from Atlanta flying to Los Angeles for a conference. He had seen enough hallways, enough classrooms, enough small humiliations dressed up as rules to know when someone was being pushed. Across the aisle sat Evelyn Marsh, a retired judge with silver hair and sharp eyes. She had not said a word yet. But her jaw had tightened. Claire returned to Naomi's row with a paper towel and a plastic bag. Here, she said. You can put the soiled item in this. Naomi looked at the bag. My blouse. Claire shrugged. You may be more comfortable changing if you have something else. In the lavatory. That would be best. Naomi let the silence stretch. Passengers began looking up. Claire lowered her voice. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Naomi finally turned her head, scanning the cabin, not for help but for witness. Then she looked back at Claire. No, Claire. You are. The sentence landed clean. No decoration. No tremble. Claire's nostrils flared. I'm going to notify the captain. Naomi nodded. Please do. Claire seemed surprised by the answer. She expected fear. She expected pleading. She expected the usual soft collapse that people tried to force from those they had already decided were powerless. But Naomi only lifted her phone. One tap. No drama. No shaking hand. Just one message sent before Claire reached the cockpit door. Mia saw it. So did Daniel Brooks. Naomi placed the phone back in her lap and waited. That waiting changed the cabin more than any argument could have. The engines hummed low. The boarding door remained open. Ground crew moved outside the window in neon vests. Suitcases rolled through the jet bridge. Everything looked normal. But inside the aircraft, normal had already cracked. Claire came back with Captain Victor Hale. He was tall, grey at the temples, with a voice trained to sound final. He said, stopping beside Naomi's seat. We understand there's been an issue. Naomi looked at him. There has. Claire jumped in. Passenger became argumentative after a minor beverage incident. Evelyn Marsh turned her head slowly. Daniel's phone stayed low but recording. Captain Hale looked at Naomi's blouse. Then at Claire. Then back at Naomi. Were you injured? No, then I'm going to ask that we all move forward. We have a schedule to maintain. Naomi's expression did not change. Claire smirked just enough for Naomi to see it. Not enough for the captain to call it what it was. Naomi said, "Captain, your crew member questioned my right to sit here, spilled coffee on me after I declined it, blamed me for the spill, suggested I undress in the lavatory, and threatened removal when I objected." Claire scoffed. "That's not what happened." Mia's fingers tightened around the napkin she still held. Captain Hale exhaled. "This is a customer service matter." Naomi's gaze sharpened. "No," she said. "It became an operational matter when your senior attendant threatened to remove a seated passenger without cause." The captain's face tightened. "I need you to lower your tone." Evelyn Marsh finally spoke. "Her tone is lower than yours." The cabin turned. Claire blinked. Captain Hale looked toward Evelyn. "Please remain seated." "I am seated," Evelyn replied. "I'm also listening." Daniel Brooks added from row 3, "We all are." Claire's confidence flickered. The captain straightened. "This aircraft cannot depart until the cabin is secure." Naomi nodded. "Then secure it. I need assurance that you won't escalate this further." Naomi's phone buzzed once in her lap. She glanced down. Then back up. "It's already escalated." The captain paused. Claire laughed once, breathy and dismissive. "To who?" "Customer service?" Naomi didn't answer. That was the first moment Claire felt it. Not fear yet. Something smaller. A draft under a locked door. From the front galley, the gate agent stepped onto the aircraft. Her name was Priya Shah. She held a tablet against her chest and looked suddenly pale. "Captain Hale," she said quietly. "Operations is requesting you hold at gate." The captain frowned. "For what reason?" Priya glanced at Naomi. Then away. "Executive review." The words moved through the cabin like a current. Claire's smile disappeared. Captain Hale lowered his voice. "Executive review of what?" Priya swallowed. "Passenger incident. Seat 2A." Every eye shifted toward Naomi. Naomi stayed still. The stain on her blouse had begun to dry at the edges. It should have made her look embarrassed. It didn't. It made the moment look documented. Claire stepped closer to Priya. "Who called that in?" Priya's eyes moved back to Naomi again. No answer. No answer was answer enough. The captain turned toward Naomi. "May I ask who you contacted?" Naomi folded the napkin in her hand. "You may." He waited. She did not continue. Daniel Brooks almost smiled. Claire's voice sharpened. "This is ridiculous. We have a full cabin because she can't accept an apology." Naomi looked at her. "You haven't given one." Claire opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Mia stepped forward softly. "Claire, maybe you should." Claire spun toward her. "Stay out of this." Mia flinched. Naomi saw it. The whole cabin saw it. That small abuse of rank. That casual snap. That little window into how Claire treated anyone she thought stood beneath her. Naomi's voice was calm. "Mia, is it?" Mia looked startled. "Yes. Did you see what happened?" Claire cut in. "She's in training." Naomi didn't blink. "I didn't ask you." The air tightened. Mia's throat moved. Captain Hale turned to her. "Mia." That single word carried warning. Mia looked at Claire. Then at Naomi. Then at the passengers watching. And something in her decided not to shrink. "Yes," she said. "I saw it." Claire's face changed. Mia continued, voice shaking but clear. "Ms. Ellison declined coffee. Claire poured anyway. The pot tipped toward her. Ms. Ellison didn't move. A ripple went through the cabin. Daniel Brooks raised his phone higher. Claire pointed at him. "Sir, you need to stop recording." Daniel said, "No," Captain Hale snapped, "this is a private aircraft environment." Evelyn Marsh gave a dry laugh. "It is a commercial flight with witnesses." Priya's tablet chimed. She looked down and stiffened. "Captain," she said, "operations has converted the hold to mandatory." Captain Hale stared at her. "Mandatory?" "Yes." Claire's voice dropped. "What does that mean?" Priya didn't look at her. "It means this aircraft does not close doors until cleared by corporate operations leadership." The cabin did not erupt. It inhaled. A collective breath. 100 people sensing the floor tilt beneath them. Naomi looked out the window. Runway lights stretched ahead in clean lines. Planes moved in the distance. Her plane did not. Claire stared at Naomi's profile. For the first time, she didn't see a difficult passenger. She saw someone waiting for a system to catch up. The captain stepped into the galley and spoke into the phone mounted near the cockpit door. His voice was low, clipped, controlled. Claire remained in the aisle, stranded between the authority she had performed and the authority now ignoring her. Mia stayed near the bulkhead. Daniel kept filming. Evelyn folded her hands. Naomi sat in the center of it all, breathing evenly. A man in foray whispered, "Who is she?" His seatmate whispered back, "Someone they should have checked before they disrespected her." Claire heard that. Her neck flushed red. She leaned toward Naomi. "You could end this by accepting that accidents happen." Naomi turned slowly. "Accidents happen. Bias chooses where to land." The sentence cut deeper than shouting. Claire's lips parted. From the cockpit doorway, Captain Hale turned back. His face had changed. Not fully pale, but emptied. Of certainty. He approached Naomi's row with Priya behind him. "Ms. Ellison," he said. The name hit Claire like a thrown glass. "Nom. Not passenger. Ms. Ellison." Naomi looked up. "Yes, Captain." He swallowed. "Operations leadership is requesting a direct conversation with you before we proceed." Claire whispered, "Operations leadership?" Naomi finally lifted her phone. It rang once. Then connected. A woman's voice came through, crisp and controlled. "Naomi, the incident file is active. Board liaison is online. Ground operations has frozen departure pending your direction." A wave of movement passed through first class. Claire stepped back. Captain Hale's eyes flicked to the phone. Naomi said, "Thank you, Layla. Keep the line open." "Yes, Not the kind Claire used. This one had weight. Recognition. Structure. Power. Claire tried to recover. "Ms. Ellison, I didn't realize you were." Naomi raised one hand. Claire stopped. The gesture was not dramatic. It was not aggressive. It was enough. Naomi's eyes held hers. "You didn't realize I was what?" The question froze the cabin. Claire's mouth opened. Closed. Naomi leaned forward slightly. "Important." No one moved. Claire swallowed. Naomi's voice lowered. "That is the problem." Daniel Brooks whispered, "Damn." Evelyn Marsh looked at Claire like a verdict had just entered the room. Captain Hale cleared his throat. "Ms. Ellison, I want to personally apologize for the inconvenience." Naomi's eyes moved to him. Inconvenience. The captain's face tightened. She looked down at her stained blouse. Then back at him. An inconvenience is a late bag. A weather delay. A broken tray table. This was a crew member deciding I did not belong, then using her position to punish me for sitting where my ticket placed me. Claire shook her head. That's not fair. Naomi turned to her. Fare was available to you 10 minutes ago. The cabin went colder. Priya's tablet chimed again. She read silently, then looked at the captain. Corporate security and employee relations are at the gate. Claire's eyes widened. Employee relations? Mia looked down, then back up with quiet awe. Naomi spoke into the phone. Layla, confirm. Cabin audio preservation. Layla answered instantly. Confirmed. Aircraft forward cabin audio, gate camera, passenger service notes, and crew manifest changes have been preserved. Also, we have retrieved 3 prior complaints connected to this same crew pairing. Claire's face drained. Captain Hale looked at her. What complaints? Claire whispered, I don't know what she's talking about. Layla continued. 2 involved first-class passengers of color being questioned after valid boarding. 1 involved a passenger being asked to change clothes before seating because, quote, premium cabin appearance standards matter. A passenger in row 5 said, oh my God. Mia covered her mouth. Claire's eyes darted from Naomi to the captain to Priya. This is being twisted, she said. People complain about everything. Naomi's voice stayed quiet. People complain when something hurts. Claire snapped, you don't know what this job is like. Naomi stood. Slowly. The seatbelt sign was not yet on. She rose with the stained blouse, the folded napkin, the calm eyes, and the full weight of a truth Claire had refused to see. I know exactly what this job is like, Naomi said. I know the service ratings. I know the training modules. I know the crew scheduling pressure. I know the complaint suppression system your base manager thought we wouldn't find. I know the difference between a hard day and a harmful pattern. Captain Hale stared at her. Claire's voice trembled now. Who are you? Naomi held her gaze. My name is Naomi Ellison. I am the CEO of Meridian Global Holdings and chairwoman of Meridian Air. The cabin went silent. Not stunned. Seized. The kind of silence that drops from the ceiling and pins everyone in place. Daniel Brooks lowered his phone for half a second, then raised it again. Evelyn Marsh whispered, there it is. Mia's eyes filled with tears. Claire took 1 step back. No, she whispered. Naomi continued, every word clean. I own controlling interest in this airline. I approved the fleet renewal you trained on. I signed the executive order that created your passenger dignity policy. And today, Claire, you violated it while wearing my company's wings. The cabin exploded. Not with chaos. With sound. Gasps. Murmurs. 1 sharp laugh from somewhere in row 6. Someone said, she owns the airline. Another said, she spilled coffee on the CEO. Claire gripped the seat back. Captain Hale looked like the cockpit had vanished behind him. He tried to speak. Ms. Ellison, Naomi cut him off. And you, Captain, reduced discrimination to inconvenience because acknowledging it would have slowed your departure. His jaw clenched. You backed the uniform before you checked the truth. He looked down. That hit harder than public anger. Because it was precise. Layla's voice returned. Naomi, the board liaison is ready. Employee Action Authority confirmed. Replacement crew standing by at gate C12. Legal has cleared immediate intervention if you choose to remove current crew. Claire's voice cracked. Remove. Naomi turned toward Mia. Mia Torres. Mia straightened, startled. Yes, you told the truth under pressure. Mia's lips trembled. I should have said it sooner. But you said it. Naomi looked toward Priya. Priya, open the forward door to corporate personnel. Priya nodded immediately. Yes, Ms. Ellison. Claire whispered, please. Naomi looked back at her. The word please hung in the aisle like a late arrival. Naomi said, "You weren't sorry when you held the coffee pot. You weren't sorry when you blamed me. You weren't sorry when you threatened removal. You became sorry when the seat number became a name." Claire's eyes shone. "I made a mistake." Naomi's voice sharpened. "No. You made a decision. Then another. Then another. A mistake is spilling coffee. Bias is deciding the person you spilled it on deserved the mess." The applause began in row 3. Daniel Brooks first. One clap. Then Evelyn. Then the woman in 2D. Then half the forward cabin. It was not loud at first. It was steady. The sound of people releasing what they had been holding. Captain Hale stood rigid. Claire looked smaller now, not because Naomi had humiliated her, but because truth had removed the costume of authority. 2 corporate security officers entered from the jet bridge. Behind them came a woman in a navy suit with a Meridian badge clipped to her lapel. "Ms. Ellison," she said. "I'm Angela Reed, Employee Relations." Naomi nodded. "Thank you, Angela." Angela turned to Claire and Captain Hale. "Claire Whitmore, Victor Hale, you are relieved of duty pending immediate disciplinary review." Claire gasped. "You can't take me off a flight in front of passengers." Naomi's eyes stayed cold. "You tried to take me off one." That sentence landed like the final lock on a door. Captain Hale said quietly, "Naomi, I have 22 years with this airline." "Then you had 22 years to learn that command is not the same as leadership." He absorbed it. No defense came. Because there was none strong enough. Angela stepped aside. "Please collect your personal items." Claire looked at Mia. "You did this." Mia's face changed. Fear tried to rise. Naomi stopped it. "No," Naomi said. "You did this." She simply refused to hide it. Daniel Brooks called from row 3, "That's right." Evelyn added, "And the rest of us saw it." Claire's shoulders collapsed. Security did not touch her. They did not need to. She walked toward the galley and gathered her bag with shaking hands. Captain Hale removed his cap. That small gesture told the cabin everything. His authority had ended before the aircraft ever moved. As they stepped into the jet bridge, no one booed. No one needed to. Their silence followed them out heavier than noise. Naomi remained standing in the aisle. The stain still marked her blouse. But it no longer looked like damage. It looked like evidence. Layla's voice came through the phone again. "Replacement captain and lead attendant are boarding now. Board requests your decision on whether flight 318 proceeds." Every passenger looked at Naomi. Even those who had pretended not to watch now watched openly. The aircraft, the schedule, the gate, the crew, the next move, everything had narrowed to the woman Claire thought did not belong. Naomi looked around the cabin. She saw tired business travelers. A mother with a sleeping child. A college student frozen mid-text. Daniel Brooks still recording, but with reverence now, not spectacle. Evelyn Marsh with her hands folded like court was in session. Mia Torres standing near the galley, newly aware that courage changes rooms. Naomi spoke to all of them. "I apologize for the delay." A man near the back called, "Don't apologize." Another passenger said, "Take your time." Naomi gave a small nod. "This flight will proceed." But not under the culture that just revealed itself. She turned to Angela. "Claire Whitmore is suspended pending termination review. Captain Hale is grounded pending leadership investigation. Pull the prior complaints. Interview every passenger connected to them. Audit this base's first-class removal reports for the last 18 months. Angela nodded. "Already initiated." Naomi looked at Mia. "Mia Torres will remain on board if she chooses." Mia blinked. "Me?" "Yes. As acting lead cabin witness and service liaison for this flight." you'll assist the replacement crew and provide a statement after landing. Mia's voice broke. Yes, Naomi added, and after today, you'll enter leadership training. The cabin clapped again. This time louder. Mia covered her mouth. Claire was gone, but the consequences of her choices were still unfolding in real time. The replacement captain arrived 10 minutes later. Captain Serena Vale, composed, sharp-eyed, walked into the cabin and went straight to Naomi. Ms. Ellison, she said. I'm sorry for what happened on this aircraft. Naomi studied her. Will you command this flight with dignity? Captain Vale answered without hesitation. Yes, For every passenger. Naomi nodded. Then take us to Los Angeles. The new lead attendant, Andre Mills, entered behind her. A black man in his 40s with calm hands and a voice like warm steel. He saw Naomi's blouse and his expression tightened, not with shock but recognition. Ms. Ellison, he said softly, we'll have that cleaned as soon as we're airborne. And before anyone asks, you don't have to move, change, explain, or shrink. For the first time, Naomi's face softened. Thank you, Andre. He turned to the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andre Mills. I'll be leading cabin service today. What happened before we arrived does not reflect the standard you deserve. From this moment forward, this cabin will be treated with professionalism, respect, and care. Someone clapped once. Then again. Andre smiled faintly. Now, let's get you all safely where you need to go. The boarding door closed. This time, the sound did not feel like confinement. It felt like reset. The engines rose. Low at first. Then stronger. Naomi sat back down in 2A. Mia walked past her, eyes still wet. I'm sorry, she whispered. Naomi looked at her. For what? For freezing. Naomi shook her head. You didn't freeze. You gathered courage. Mia nodded, trying not to cry. Naomi added, remember this. Systems don't change because powerful people notice. They change because honest people refuse to lie. Mia whispered, I'll remember. As the aircraft pushed back from the gate, Daniel Brooks leaned across the aisle. Ms. Ellison? Naomi turned. I'm sorry I recorded. I didn't know if that was right. Naomi looked at his phone. Then at him. You recorded because you understood silence protects the wrong people. Daniel swallowed. But don't let the video become the story, she said. Let the truth become the story. He nodded. Yes, Evelyn Marsh leaned forward. You handled that with more restraint than most courts I've sat in. Naomi gave a tired smile. Restraint is expensive. I've paid for it my whole life. The runway lights lined up outside. The plane paused. For one long breath, Flight 318 waited. Not for clearance. Not really. It waited for the final weight of the moment to settle. Naomi looked at the stain on her sleeve again. She remembered being 16, standing with her mother at an airport counter in Detroit, watching an agent speak slowly to them as if intelligence came with skin tone. Her mother had squeezed her hand and whispered, "Baby, don't let their smallness become yours." She remembered that. She had built companies on that sentence. She had walked into boardrooms where men mispronounced her name and then asked her to explain revenue models she had invented. She had acquired Meridian Air after a decade of watching airlines apologize only when videos went viral. She had promised herself that if she ever held enough power, she would not use it to humiliate. She would use it to correct. And now correction had a flight number. The aircraft surged forward. Engines roaring. Bodies pressed gently into seats. The city blurred. Then the ground fell away. Flight 318 lifted into the night. Inside the cabin, no one spoke for a while. Not because they were afraid. Because they knew they had witnessed something larger than a delay. A woman had been insulted in public. She had not screamed. She had not begged. She had not performed pain for sympathy. She had let the system reveal itself. Then she took the wheel. 30 minutes into the flight, Andre approached with a garment bag. "Miss, listen, we have a fresh blouse from premium inventory. Similar size. No charge, obviously." Naomi looked up. "Thank you. But I'll keep this on until landing." Andre understood immediately. The stain was no longer something to hide. It was the reason the aircraft had changed course without changing destination. Andre nodded. "Yes." Mia watched from the galley. She would later say that was the moment she understood leadership. Not the firing. Not the title. Not the applause. The blouse. The decision to remain visible. A little later, Naomi's phone buzzed again. "Layla." "Naomi, early audit results are coming in." Claire had 12 informal notes from junior crew members. None escalated. Hale had for prior incidents involving passenger removal recommendations that were later reversed. Naomi closed her eyes briefly. How many involved black passengers? A pause. 3 confirmed. 1 Latino passenger. 1 Middle Eastern passenger. Naomi opened her eyes. The clouds outside were silver under moonlight. Expand the audit system-wide. Already drafting. Not drafting. Doing. Yes. And Layla? Yes? No generic statement. Note we regret if anyone felt. No passive language. Understood. Naomi's voice lowered. Say what happened. Say what failed. Say what changes tonight. Layla replied, "I'll prepare it for your approval." Naomi ended the call. Evelyn Marsh had heard enough to understand. Most companies would bury it. Naomi looked at her. Most companies are built to survive embarrassment. I want mine built to survive truth. Evelyn nodded slowly. That'll cost. You. Naomi looked out at the sky. It already did. Near the rear of first class, a passenger named Owen Price, a venture investor who had said nothing during the confrontation, finally leaned toward Daniel. You think she overreacted? Daniel turned his head slowly. Man, she got coffee spilled on her, got blamed for it, almost got removed, and still let the flight continue. That's the most controlled reaction I've ever seen. Owen shrugged. I mean, firing people in front of everyone. Evelyn's voice cut in without turning around. Accountability always looks excessive to people who benefited from its absence. Owen went quiet. Daniel smiled. Naomi heard it. She did not turn around. Some lessons were better when delivered by witnesses. As the flight crossed over dark fields and scattered cities, the cabin settled into a new kind of peace. Not the artificial peace of people avoiding discomfort. The real kind. The kind that comes after a wound is cleaned. Mia moved through the aisle with Andre, offering water, checking seatbelts, speaking gently to every passenger. Her hand still trembled slightly when she reached Naomi's row. Naomi noticed. Your voice was shaking earlier, Naomi said. Mia looked embarrassed. I know. But it didn't stop. Mia breathed out. Naomi nodded. That matters more. Mia smiled through tears. Claire always told me I was too soft for this job. Andre, passing behind her, said, soft isn't weak. Soft notices. Naomi looked at him. And noticing is where justice starts. The word stayed with Mia for the rest of the flight. 2 hours later, as Flight 318 began its descent into Los Angeles, Captain Vale came on the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our initial descent. On behalf of the current crew, thank you for your patience, your composure, and your trust. We know today's departure was not ordinary. But we are committed to making sure the remainder of your journey reflects the dignity every passenger deserves. A wave of soft applause moved through the cabin. Naomi closed her eyes. Not in triumph. In exhaustion. People often imagine power as loud. A raised voice. A slammed door. A command that made others tremble. But real power, Naomi knew, was quieter. It was the ability to hold pain without letting it turn you cruel. It was the discipline to act when anger would be easier. It was the courage to make consequences clean enough that no one could call them revenge. When the plane landed, no one stood immediately. The seatbelt sign turned off. Still, people remained seated for a few seconds, as if leaving too quickly would disrespect the weight of what had happened. Then Daniel Brooks stood. "Ms. Ellison," he said. "Thank you." Naomi looked up. "For what?" "For showing my daughter what power can look like." His voice caught. "She's 15. She thinks being calm means people can walk over you." Naomi's expression softened. "Tell her calm is not surrender. Calm is aim." Daniel nodded, eyes wet. Evelyn Marsh stood next. "I hope your legal department calls me," she said. "I'll give a statement." Naomi smiled faintly. "I suspected you might." "I was a judge for 32 years, Evelyn said. "I know testimony when I see it." Passengers began gathering bags. But the mood was different from any flight Naomi had taken. People were not rushing past each other. They were looking at one another. Making space. Nodding. A mother helped an older man lift his suitcase. A college student thanked Mia by name. Andre stood near the exit, steady as a lighthouse. At the front door, Layla was waiting on the jet bridge with 2 Meridian executives and a legal officer. She looked at Naomi's blouse first. Then her face. "I'm sorry," Layla said. Naomi stepped off the aircraft. "Don't be sorry. Be thorough." Layla nodded. "Claire has been placed on unpaid suspension pending termination. Hale is grounded. Crew base audit launched. Board emergency meeting in 40 minutes. And Mia? Protected witness status internally. Promotion review opened." Naomi looked back into the aircraft where Mia was helping a passenger retrieve a scarf. "Not review. Promotion." Layla smiled slightly. "Understood." Then she lowered her voice. "Media has the video." Naomi looked toward Daniel, who stood nearby holding his phone. He looked nervous. "I didn't post until after the reveal," he said. "I wrote exactly what happened." Naomi nodded. "Truth doesn't scare me." Layla added, "It's spreading fast." Naomi's face remained calm. "Good." The executives looked surprised. She turned to them. "Don't manage the optics. Manage the failure." They nodded quickly. Naomi walked into the terminal not surrounded by applause now, but by consequence. Behind her, passengers from Flight 318 stepped out one by one, each carrying a version of the story. The woman who saw the coffee fall. The judge who heard the tone. The principal who recorded. The trainee who spoke. The attendant who served with dignity. By midnight, the video had crossed millions of views. But the part people replayed most was not the reveal. It was not Naomi saying she chaired the airline. It was the quiet moment before that. When Claire said, "I didn't realize you were," and Naomi asked, "Important?" That was the cut that opened everything. Because everyone understood it. The next morning, Meridian Air released a statement unlike anything its customers had seen before. No soft language. No corporate fog. It named the incident as discriminatory conduct. It confirmed immediate suspension of involved personnel. It announced a system-wide audit of passenger removal, cabin escalation, and premium seating bias complaints. It created a direct dignity hotline reporting to the board. It required all crew leaders to undergo passenger equity recertification. And at the bottom, one quote from Naomi Ellison. Respect cannot depend on recognition. If our people only serve dignity after they identify power, then we have trained them to serve status, not humanity. The quote moved faster than the video. By noon, former passengers began posting their own stories. A black doctor removed from an exit row after questioning a seat change. A Latino father asked for extra ID when boarding with his children. A Muslim student moved from first class after another passenger said she felt uncomfortable. The pattern Naomi suspected had become visible. And this time, the company did not hide from it. It opened the files. 3 weeks later, Claire Whitmore was terminated. Captain Hale resigned before the review finished. 2 base managers were removed for suppressing complaints. A regional director who had dismissed bias reports as sensitivity noise was fired after 26 years. Mia Torres was promoted into Meridian's new cabin integrity program. Andre Mills became national training lead. And Naomi Ellison attended the first training session herself. She did not stand on a stage. She sat in seat 2A of a retired training aircraft, wearing the same stained blouse under a navy blazer. The room of crew members saw it immediately. No one asked why. They knew. Naomi looked at them and said, "This stain is not here to shame one person. It is here to remind an entire company that small actions reveal large systems." Mia stood near the front, now wearing her new badge. Andra leaned against the galley wall. Layla sat with a tablet full of policy changes that would become mandatory across every Meridian route. Naomi continued. A passenger should not need a title to receive respect. A person should not need wealth to be believed. A customer should not need witnesses to be protected. And no employee in this company will ever again confuse authority with permission to degrade. No one spoke. They were listening. Really listening. Naomi looked toward Mia. "Tell them what courage felt like." Mia stepped forward. Her voice shook again. But it did not stop. "It felt late," she said. "I wish I had spoken sooner. But when I finally did, I realized fear gets smaller after the first true sentence." The room absorbed that. Andre nodded. Naomi smiled. "That is where we begin." Months later, Flight 318 became more than an incident. It became a case study. A training module. A policy shift. A story told in homes, classrooms, boardrooms, and comment sections by people who understood too well what it meant to be measured before being met. Daniel Brooks showed the video to his daughter. She watched Naomi sit still through humiliation and then move an entire airline without raising her voice. When it ended, she said, she didn't let them make her small. Daniel said, "No, baby." She made the room grow up. Evelyn Marsh gave a sworn statement that became part of Meridian's internal reform record. She wrote one sentence at the end. The passenger in 2A did not disrupt the aircraft. She restored order to it. Mia kept a copy of that sentence in her locker. Claire never returned to aviation. Captain Hale sent a private apology months later. Naomi read it once. Then filed it. Not because forgiveness was impossible. Because accountability did not require her emotional labor to be complete. On the 1-year anniversary of the incident, Meridian Air unveiled a new plaque at its National Training Center. It did not mention Claire. It did not mention the stain. It did not mention the viral video. It read, "Dignity before status. Truth before comfort. Service before assumption." Naomi stood in front of it quietly. Layla asked, "Do you ever wish it hadn't happened?" Naomi looked through the glass wall at a training aircraft where new attendants practiced boarding scenarios. Mia was leading them. Andre was observing. A young recruit was role-playing a difficult passenger situation, and instead of escalating first, she asked, "How can I help you feel respected right now?" Naomi watched. Then answered, "I wish the pain wasn't necessary." But I'm glad the lesson survived it. That evening, Naomi flew again. Commercial. No entourage. No announcement. Seat 2A. Different route. Different crew. As she boarded, the lead attendant smiled warmly. Welcome aboard, Ms. Ellison. Naomi paused. The attendant looked nervous, wondering if she had said too much. Naomi smiled back. Thank you. Then she walked to her seat. Outside, the runway lights stretched into the distance. Inside, the cabin breathed with ordinary calm. No one questioned her. No one measured her clothes. No one made her prove she belonged. And that was the victory most people never saw. Not the firing. Not the applause. Not the headlines. The victory was a quiet boarding. A normal greeting. A seat taken without suspicion. A black woman sitting exactly where she was supposed to sit, not because someone finally recognized her power, but because the system had finally learned to recognize her humanity. Naomi buckled her seatbelt. The engines rose. The aircraft began to move. And as the city lights slipped beneath the wing, she looked out into the dark sky with the calm of someone who had not just won a confrontation. She had changed the altitude of an entire company. Because justice does not always shout. Sometimes it sits in 2A. Stained blouse. Steady hands. Clear eyes. And waits for the whole plane to understand who was really holding it in place.